This week we reach Parshat Mishpatim. We are reading Mishpatim. Up until this point in the book of Exodus, the book has been telling a story. It's been narrative. It's been telling a story of enslavement in Egypt, Moses appearing on the scene to lead an effort for liberation, the 10 plagues and the first Passover, leaving Egypt and the splitting of the sea, approaching Sinai and hearing words of Torah. And then we get to Exodus chapter 21, the beginning of this week's Parsha. And we enter into a long and intense list of laws, statutes, and regulations. And we read that opening verse, Ve'ela hamishpatim asher tasim lefanecha. These are the mishpatim, the ordinances, judgments, regulations, statutes that you shall put before them. And what follows reads like a law book with rules and rules and rules, rules of commerce and civil law, criminal law, laws of damages and property, laws of liability, murder, theft, sexual conduct, idolatry, rights of the powerless, such as slaves, debtors, orphans, widows, operations of courts, ritual regulation, dietary regulation, how to treat others, even those who are your adversaries, treatment of animals, Sabbath and holiday observance, and sabbatical years. Some aspects of Midrash see these laws as an extension of the 10 commandments, really part of one and the same thing. And as we've noted before, the 10 commandments is not called the 10 commandments in Hebrew. It is not Aseret HaMitzvot in Hebrew, but it is Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 words. Not all of those words or those 10 so-called commandments, not all of them are strictly speaking commandments. One of them is, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. No commandment there. It is one of the words there. And yet, if you look at those 10 words, you'll likely find more than 10 commandments, actually. And the rabbis, of course, find not 10 commandments, but 613 commandments in the Torah, including the many, many commandments in this week's Parsha. And to reinforce that point, the point that these commandments and the revelation that is called Aseret HaDibrot, or in English, the 10 Commandments, to reinforce the point that that's all one, when we reach an end to the long list of mitzvot, we read, God said to Moses, come up to Adonai, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship at a distance. And Moses alone shall come near unto Adonai, but they shall not come up, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all of the words of Adonai and all of the mishpatim, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Adonai has spoken we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of Adonai and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the mountain and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And the reading continues a couple of verses later, and Moses took Sefer HaBrit, the book of the covenant, and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that Adonai has spoken, Naaseh v'nishma, meaning we will do and obey, or maybe we will do and hear, or maybe we will do and understand. One midrash says here that this means we will do even before we understand why. We will do even before we understand why. And only after we do it will we come to understand why we need to do it. And yet a few verses later we read, Adonai said to Moses, come up to me into the mountain, and there I will give you the tablets of stone and the Torah and the mitzvah that I have written, so that you shall instruct them. So you can see how Midrash connects all of these laws to the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 words, not the 10 commandments, but the 10 words, as all one and the same revelation. And this section of Torah at the end of the Parsha is also an intensely mystical passage. Because in the midst of all this, we read as follows: Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel. Vayiru et Elohei Yisrael. There was under God's feet the like of a paved work of sapphire stone, and the like of the very skies for clearness. And God did not lay a hand upon the nobles of the children of Israel, and they beheld a vision of God and ate and drank. Eventually, Moses goes up into the clouded mountain and remains there 40 days and 40 nights. Clearly, this is an intense experience, all part of the Sinai encounter that we read about last week, all part of entering into the covenant, of receiving the Torah that defines the covenant. And I have a particular take on this defining of Torah and its relationship to religious experience, if not mystical experience. And a lot of it hinges on the words kol and dibor. Kol is voice, and dibor is word. Mystical language, Kabbalistic language, makes reference to a difference between kol, which is voice, and dibor, which is word. The Torah's description of the Sinai experience uses both of those words a lot, kol and dibor, voice and word. God spoke bikol, God spoke in voice. God spoke the 10 words. Moses is to speak these words. Now, there's a difference between voice and word. Voice is a constant flow of sound, as in the voice of the shofar, kol ha-shofar, the voice of the shofar, the sound of the shofar. A constant, even uninterrupted flow of sound, similar to how Jewish mystical tradition envisions an unbroken flow of godly abundance flowing into the world, so that the world is constantly sustained. God is all about voice, the sustaining energy flowing into the world, holding the world in existence. Word, on the other hand, is voice broken and shaped into sound symbol. Word is sound symbol made out of voice, broken broken and shaped. The life force, so I compare voice to the life force inside us. The life force that sustains us, the life force that flows through us is an unbroken stream. It is voice, this life force, which is constantly sustaining us. Yet the deeds that we perform with that life force, with that life energy, is life energy shaped into symbols of meaning, into acts of meaning. With our deeds, we take the voice, the life energy that flows through us, and we shape that unbroken flow of energy into word, into acts that hold meaning, that have good impact and therefore have good meaning, or have bad impact and therefore have bad meaning. The mitzvah upon us, our obligation, our commitment, according to the Torah, is to shape the voice that flows through us into words of goodness, We are commanded to take the life energy that flows through us and shape it into deeds of goodness, which help sustain the world. For we are also capable of shaping that life energy into deeds of hatred, violence, and evil, which break down the world. And this we are commanded not to do. The Torah, which is a book and tradition of word, is intended to guide us, to help us see how to shape our lives into good word or good deed rather than evil word or evil deed. So this entire section of Mishpatim, this entire section of rules and regulations and mitzvot is actually like a vocabulary for us to use in order to speak good word. And as I was thinking about this over the week, in fact, just yesterday, my neighbor dropped off for me a book that she happened to come across. Someone was getting rid of some books, and she came across this book. It's a very thick book. It's a very thick book. And it is called A Book on Biblical Hebrew Syntax. Now, not syntax, S-I-N, new word, T-A-X, not syntax. It is syntax, biblical Hebrew syntax. And it is very, very thick. A whole book on what is syntax? Word order. Word order. A whole book on the order of words in the Torah and in the Bible. And of course, the Torah is very terse with words. And word order is very important in especially a book without punctuation. But it occurred to me in thinking about this and getting this book that syntax, the ordering of words or deeds, is what our tradition and our teaching, our Torah, is all about. We are taught to order our lives into correct syntax. And as a model, we have the syntax of the Torah to study because embedded in it are clues to the spiritual and moral investigations of generations of our people. And then I returned to the beginning of the Parsha, the Elu HaMishpatim. These are the Mishpatim that you shall place before them. And I suddenly realized in modern Hebrew, the word mishpat means sentence. Mishpatim, these are the sentences that you are to place before the people. And these sentences are, of course, all structured with words placed in their proper order. Our calling, therefore, is to order the words of our lives, the deeds of our lives, into mishpatim, into sentences that express what goodness there can be in the world, to increase the flow of godly voice into the world through us. And as we strive to hear, to shma, lishmoa, as we strive to hear that godly voice in those goodly words, we need to keep in mind what the people said at the moment they heard this. Na'aseh v'nishma, na'aseh v'nishma. That strange phrase that I said earlier was read in different ways. We will do, na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will obey. We will do and we will hear. We will do and we will understand. The word do comes before hear in the word order of the Torah. We will do and we will hear. As we do mitzvot, we need to listen to the impact that our deeds are having in the world around us. The 20th century German Jewish philosopher Franz Rosenzweig gave a lot of thought to this phrase, na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will hear. As a religious existentialist who taught basically that existence existed before any meaning existed. So the meaning of who and what we are derives out of our existence rather than the other way around. As a religious existentialist, he had a radical reading of this phrase, Na'aseh v'nishma. And he meant only in the midst of our doing the thing can we understand the thing. Only in the midst of doing it can we understand it. We might talk about the mitzvah, but we're only going to understand it once we're doing it. Certainly, we cannot understand what the mitzvah means before we have experienced the doing of it. That would be like trying to understand what it is like to go swimming when we have never even been in the water. So first we have to do, then we can reflect on the meaning of what we have experienced. So if there's a mitzvah in front of us that it just doesn't make sense, we just don't see how it makes sense, try it, maybe you'll like it. Try it and find meaning in it, in the doing. For when we do, we are in effect speaking word and ordering words into sentences of meaning. As God says to Moses, for these are the sentences you shall place before them. Ve'ela hamishpatim asher tasim lefanecha. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Go forward, spell and write.